yeah, I had the baby blues. I was very suicidal. I just didn't want to be here. It was hard navigating becoming a new parent and like having to learn all these things. And my parents didn't meet my kid until they were like about to be 2. And so the residency came like at such a important time in my life because I needed a way to funnel all of that.
Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Dalia Palacios. How are you doing, Dalia?
Good.
You came recommended, highly recommended by Gloria Sanchez. You were telling me a little bit about how you guys met through like an art show, and now you guys work together at Angels Gate Park.
Yeah, cultural center.
Culture Center, and your role is a little bit different. She's like more of a organizer, administrator, and you are a teacher.
Teaching artist. Yeah. So they have field trips where they bring the students, and then we work developing like a art workshop that represents like the current shows that they have in the gallery. So like, currently right now we have this exhibition Black in Place, and so there's fiber art in the gallery, and the artist it's Candy G Lopez, or I'm not sure if I'm butchering that.
It's okay.
And Dea Jenkins. So they have...
Oh, Dia's there?
Yeah.
I've had her on the show.
Yeah. So we have those as references for the, where we like kind of focus, where we talk more a little bit about their process, and then we take them into the, we do the tours, we do a mural walk, and then we take them into the classroom, and they make their own weavings currently right now. So that's what they're doing.
Cool. Yeah. That's very cool. I'm just excited that it's just the small worldness of the art world too is cool. That's interesting. So first of all, I got to give you a shout out for the combo of the shoes and the socks. That is fire. I love those Reeboks.
Oh, thank you.
And we're matching, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So, okay, I have so many questions because you kind of gave me a bunch of like little notes about things that you wanted to talk about, but I always get excited about that, and then I'm like, let's start with the origins. So where did you start learning how to do art? Like, where are you from? Are you from California?
Yeah, so I was born here. I grew up in Echo Park.
Oh, okay.
And then my family was displaced around 2011.
Yeah, that's when that was happening.
Yes.
I remember Echo Park being a lot browner.
Yeah, and I went to high school in Belmont. Like Belmont was my home school.
Yeah.
So after I graduated, and after my family, like we moved around a lot. And I think being displaced also kind of influenced me to become more of an advocate in terms of like, I was like fresh out of high school. I had to deal with like this landlord that was like really scummy and, wouldn't fix the washing machines. There were like rodent issues, wouldn't address. We had plumbing issues and all of these things, and then you're hit with like, you have 30 days to and the rent, like there was like a rent increase, but also like shady stuff, like wanting to get it was like there was only 4 apartments, so they were basically getting everyone out.
Yeah. Were they tearing down the place or no?
No.
So it wasn't a rent controlled situation?
So they basically got everyone out, and then they sat on the property. Like the property was vacant for like over 13 years, up until like maybe recently.
I wonder what the benefit of that is, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, because they're literally losing money on that as the property increases value. That's crazy. I bet there's a logic to it. I'm just not that well versed in real estate.
Yeah. So that, you know, and then also seeing like family friends like losing their homes and like the tactics that they were using, like, you know, like using your immigration status against you, you know, like, and so, yeah, a lot of folks were just like, fuck it, I'm not gonna fight it. Like, we're just gonna move, you know? And so I lived in different places. I think from there, I lived in Harbor.
This is a possibility, so I'm asking the question. Did you get displaced from another neighborhood? Is that why you kept moving so much?
Yeah, so no, it's just I don't know. I think after that, like, it was just
hard to find a spot that was like good long term.
At least for me personally. Yeah, so there was like a lot going on, but I think, you know, being displaced and then like, you know, not really, I think having support in terms of like,
how old were you when this was going on? This
is 18, 19.
So 2010, 11, you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And yeah, I you know, there's a lot more like you know, like groups that organize against gentrification, against displacement, you know, but during that time, like I really didn't know where to go, you know, and so.
So you didn't have the tools to help yourself, empower yourself to fight back. You were 18. I mean, come on. I get the feeling of regret. I'm not judging you, but that is, I can't imagine. Like, I was a dumbass when I was 18. So yeah,
like having to read legal paperwork, you know, for my parents and like translating, like there were like these huge obstacles.
Do your parents, how's their English? Were they able to, how are you first generation?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're immigrants.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they,
from what part?
My dad's from Michoacan and my mom's from Veracruz.
Okay.
So I think they arrived here like in the early 80s, and they were very young as well. My mom, you know, she was married, but her husband passed in Veracruz, and then, you know, she had my two older siblings, and then she arrived here, and then she met my dad, and so then me and my younger siblings happened here.
How many siblings?
There's 5 of us.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Cool. I'm from a family of 4.
Yeah, so I'm the middle child.
Yeah.
So I have 2 older siblings and I have 2 younger.
You're the I'm one of the middle childs because in my family there's 2, but you're like
right in the middle.
2 on either side of you. And
there's a large age gap too, like over 10 years, about 10 years. Oh, okay. Like, so 10 years from the oldest and then 10 years from the youngest. So
10 years for each?
Like,
of the 5?
So like 10. I'm 10 years younger than my older sibling, and then my youngest sibling, I'm 10 years. So they're 20 years apart from
each other.
Yeah.
Wow. That is crazy.
Yeah. So
that, like, in terms of like considering someone your brother that's that much older or sibling that's that much older than you, that must be a trip, you know? Like, you didn't grow up playing together.
No, for sure. There's definitely like that disconnection, right? Like like, you know, yeah. But I think after like, so I basically, so from Echo Park, we moved to Harbor City, and then from Harbor City, I moved to the Valley. And then from the Valley, I lived in Lincoln Heights for a bit, and then Lincoln Heights, East LA, like the west side.
So you know you're not gonna get lost in this city.
Oh no, and
because I will still.
No, yeah. So I know the city, and also like I didn't have a car for like majority of my life, and I rode my bicycle. Like that was my main form of transportation. Like riding my bicycle for like 13 years. Wow. I think up until I became a parent in 2020. That's when I started driving more.
You wanted a car seat instead of a
a baby trailer.
Yeah. The idea of your baby also having to pedal is also funny. Although that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So then when did you, in this period, like when did you decide? So it sounds like when I had Gloria on, she was also very much into the community service aspects of art, which I think are super important. And I definitely also am not as well equipped as you guys to participate, but definitely am always happy to facilitate it. But when was that what made you get into art? Like, was that the creative spark, or were you also drawing? Like, I just talked to someone who was drawing Pokemons when they were kids. So that is basically what I'm asking. Like, when did you like really start? Like, I like art.
I was maybe like eight
Okay.
years old. I, obviously being like a big family, like you're not really able to ask for like,
you weren't playing video games,
like drawing or like materials or, and so we would go to Tijuana a lot and, cause we have family there. And so, during those trips, like I would ask, like we were at a supermarket and I was like, hey mom, like there's these like, drawing books, like where like body parts, animals, like how to draw.
Yeah.
And I remember they were like super cheap.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like this was the only time that I ever asked her to buy me anything.
Yeah.
And she bought it for me.
That's awesome.
And I remember just going through it and like learning, like teaching myself like what I was seeing and then, drawing and so that kind of sparked my interest in it. And my dad was also very like, when he would punish me and my siblings, he would like lock us in a room and basically tell us like, give us a sheet, like 5 sheets of paper and give us pencils and markers. And he's like, you guys can't get out of this room until all of these pages are filled. Like that was our form of punishment.
Oh, okay.
And so
I was worried.
Yeah.
When you brought up the story, you said it started with locked in a room and I was like, uh-oh.
And so like to me, that was like a way to like escape like my current, like, like just kind of like escape and like let my imagination kind of run wild. And that's really what like slowly I started gravitating towards being able to express myself. Like honestly, like yes, me and my younger brother were little like troublemakers, and so we would always get into trouble. So so I was like looking forward to this punishment at that point. I was like, yes, okay, like what are we gonna do today? Like that's gonna,
But I do want to point out that like at 8 years old, when you didn't have a lot of different things that you could ask for, or when resources were limited, this was the thing that you were most excited about, right?
Yeah.
And this was the thing that you kind of spoke up, which I think speaks to, I mean, I believe you knew it at 8 then.
Yeah. And so like, I mean, and then, my dad didn't really think art was like a career, so he wasn't really supportive. But when I think about it, when I talk to him now, like, I'm like, you basically put embedded that little creativeness.
You punished yourself, Dad.
Yeah. Like that punishment, like that's where I want it to be. Like I wanted to be able to just fill up these pages with, because there was no specific prompt. Like it wasn't like you have to write standards or you have to write like why you misbehave. It was like, no, give me drawings.
I would have just put 5 big X's and be like full.
And so he kept all of these drawings too, and so it was just like, okay. But that sparked my interest. And then when I started schools and, you have like the teachers that like see your, capabilities, and then they start like, recommending you, like
digging you deeper into the like career that's not going to pay you.
Yeah. So, but like my younger siblings are really creative. They're also artists as well. So,
visual artists as well, or in different
visual artists, but like I feel like in different capacity,
but not like one's a musician, one, because that's more how my family is creative. My family, like one's a director, one's a musician,
like we have different, I mean, I guess you could say,
but like it sounds like you're saying that one's a sculptor, one's a conceptual artist, one's a performance artist. Am I understanding that right or no?
I mean, more like, kind of, like that, my younger brother does have like, he's musically inclined, I was at some point inclined to like to music, but And then, you know, my younger sister is like, she's very versatile, like sculpture, like, you know, mixed media, like, so.
For us, that was too competitive. That's why we kind of split up. It went our separate ways. Like, I would be so jealous if my brother still drew and he was better than me.
I'm glad that there wasn't that type of rivalry between us, you know, that it was very like, that we would inspire each other, you know, and there was never like, you know, it was like, okay, well, I'm seeing where you're at. Like, let me step up my drawing game, or let me, you know, my skills. Like, it was never like, well, because you're doing this, I'm not going to do it. You know, I think we've all dabbled in the same mediums. But yeah. And
have you ever done a living room show of the family? Wait, your dad really fucked up then. Like, I was thinking, I wasn't going to say it, but I was thinking that's like, you know, I'm not to bag on sex work, but that would be like punishing someone by putting them in a room and then being like, there's a stripper pole in there. You're not allowed. Use it. You're not allowed to leave until you've done several twirls, and then they become a dancer, and then they're mad.
Or a rock climber, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking more, and I think that, I mean, I guess a rock climber is a deadbeat. I would just say that in the 90s, the joke was keep her off the pole for parents, for dads. So I don't know how appropriate. I mean, this might just be too dated of a joke, but you get what I'm saying? Like, he didn't want you to become an artist, but he forced you to. In
a way, he did.
Or he taught you that he was like, I'm punishing her. And she's like, I'm loving this.
Yeah, like I'm writing. I'm, you know, making
you did write sometimes?
Yeah, I did write sometimes, and so. That's like the earliest memory of like making work that I can remember. And then after that, it was just, you know, I went to, and when I got to in middle school, I went to King. I was like in the magnet. And so,
that's an art magnet.
And
where is that?
Right there by Hyperion and Sunset.
Okay.
And then, and so I also did like, because I was a middle child, like I was able to do a lot of things. Like my parents were too busy working.
Calling you a middle child in between 20 years. It's so strange. Like, I think we need to remember that context, you know, because like the middle child is sort of like, I mean, I grew up with the middle child stereotype being like, oh, you guys are whiny, or you know, like they're the needy ones or whatever. It sounds like you were just kind of in a vast wasteland middle child.
Yeah, like like I remember in middle school, like learning percussion, staying after school, joining like the music you know, group, and or telling my parents like, hey, I'm gonna, you know, because we were taking, like, we would have to get home on our own. So we were taking the bus, or we were walking, like we would walk from, you know, Hyperion Sunset to like Echo Park, and it was fun, you know. And so as long as I was with my brother, like I couldn't really do anything unless I was with my brother. Like it was that mentality, right? Like that, like, oh, you're a girl, so you can't be walking. Like you have to be with your brother.
Now it's like men, but like young boys can't. You haven't seen the videos of women getting arrested, parents getting arrested for letting their kids like walk down the street.
Oh yeah.
Like nowadays, it's like. Nowadays, you don't have to worry about creeps. You got to worry about cops. Calling you a bad parent.
That's true. I've seen those videos.
Yeah. But that, I mean, that makes sense. Like, especially be one thing to like make you and a brother that's like, it's an older brother you have that's
younger.
Brother.
Yeah, but it was
that is strange.
yeah, it was the like, okay, if you guys are together, like it'll be, you know, you'll be fine, you know. And so I think it worked up until high school. We went to different high schools. So
because he wasn't in the magnet.
Because I wasn't in the magnet. Like my application, he went to Marshall, so my application got lost in the mail, and then I was like designated to my home school, which was Belmont. Wow. So it worked up until high school. Like in high school, they were like more strict. And so like we would have to come up with plans. Like I would coordinate like, hey, I'm going to tell mom and dad that I'm going to be with you. Okay. Like, so we're going to be, you know, in the same place, but he would do his own thing and I would do my own thing. And we would just like regroup. And I was like, do not, if I'm not there, do not go home, you know?
Yeah.
Like, wait for me. Like, I might be running late, but whatever, like, just wait.
Yeah.
You know? And so that was always like our deal. Like, because if one of us like caved in and would head home without the other, like,
that was hell to pay.
We would be in
locked in the
room. Like, I would be in trouble. And so it was nice having that, you know, because my brother was like, yeah, fuck, do your thing, you know, like, shit, I don't want you, you know, like, I want to also do my own thing, you know.
You're almost of different generations, even, you know.
So he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go skate, and I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going to a backyard show in South LA.
like a music show,
like like a, you know, and like a ska show, or like a, you know, there'd be like punk band.
Bro, you live in the 90s, and you're if I'm doing my math right, you're 28, right?
30.
You're 30. Okay.
30.
But that you're like 10 years younger than me, and you're living a very, like, you're dancing to ska. You're pretty much a latchkey kid to some degree. You know, like, that stuff doesn't happen that much anymore. Parents are like hovering over their kids. You know?
And so I would meet up with my homegirls. Like, I played softball in high school, so we would all meet up, and we would just, you know, take the bus and hit up shows in South LA. Like, it was, and then I just, you know, sometimes you would come with, and sometimes you wouldn't. And I would just be like, all right, I'm going to be back by this time. You know, and that was it. It was the same thing with like riding a bicycle. Like, I remember my dad being like, oh, like, you know, you can't ride a bike. Like, it's too dangerous, this and that. And it's like, then my brother got a bike. And I was like, well, why is he riding a bike? You know, it's just as dangerous for him. And then he was like, sorry. He was like, oh, and then he finally caved in, and he's like, all right, like, got me a bike too. And then so we were both riding a bike, you know, and so slowly I started pushing their like boundaries, right? Because they're like, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't, you know. And it's like, okay, well, all right. And then I started doing it because he was doing it. So yeah, that helped.
I just love the idea of like how open the city was to you as a kid, because this is like, I've been without a car in this town, and it's tough. Yeah. But like, as a kid, you probably have more ambitions and stuff. I got tired of just eating the same thing in the neighborhood, you know?
No, I mean, we would take the buses everywhere. Yeah. You know, we would take the trains everywhere. Like, you know, when I look at, because I keep all my little, like, I like to keep like ticket stubs and all that. And I look at the little paper metro passes that were like $1.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Before the tap cards.
And the little like all day passes that were like $3. You could get anywhere, you know, like you were, you know, we were going to like Altadena, or
I bet all the parents listening to this are horrified, because I mean, I don't know, I don't find LA to be that dangerous of a city as it's said to be, but it's still, for a kid, it just seems like really intense. But anyway, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your practice and how that has been coming along. So you started off learning about anatomy. So where do you work in? Do you work in the figurative, representational stuff, or was that just to get the spark going, and then now you're doing like crazy abstract stuff?
I think it's still figurative, you know. I definitely dabble in like lots of mediums. Like, I like doing like stop motion collages.
Oh, cool. That's very cool.
I do paint, I do draw. It's just, for me, like, the big thing is like not having a space, right? Like a space to
you, and you're a mother now too.
Yeah,
you said you mentioned that you had a baby during the pandemic. So you have a 5-year-old, 4-year-old?
Yeah, four currently. But yeah, like, that's a big thing. I think like also like everything going up in price, right? Like, so I did like a residency in 2022 in South LA.
What's it called?
Arts at Blue Roof.
Oh, okay. I've had Clarice, who's been a part of that, and I think someone else.
So I did a residency there, and that was the first time in like my entire life that I actually had like a space to like just go ham.
Yeah. No, I
Like,
mean, you've been sharing a studio with your siblings for every time you were punished, right?
yeah. Like, and we always lived in small spaces.
Yeah.
And so that allowed me to just kind of experiment and just do things that like I would never have the space to do. So I worked during that residency. I made large paintings on like I like recycling materials, being like, you know, resourceful. So I would get the paper from like grocery stores, and then I got cardboard and, you know, started like making sculptures with the cardboard. And so I also did was able to do like these drawings with like I like to embroider on paper. So that's like currently like that body of work that I was able to, you know, get started there. And so
what do they give you? Like, what is the or what is the reward for? Or I mean, I don't know. I'm so bad at this. I've been doing this for so long, and I'm terrible at it. What do you get as a?
So when you're doing the residency, you get
a studio space.
You get a free studio space. It's a fairly large room, and then you have access to it 24/7. There's parking on site. There's like a community kitchen, you know, if you're working late hours. I think
there's other people sharing studios.
There's like other artist studios there. And so I think for me, the big one was that they were okay with me bringing my kiddo because, you know, I breastfed. So it was like, you know, on demand. So they never
breastfeeding as on demand is a funny.
Yeah. But, you know, like they were like, I tried giving them the bottle, but they were just like not like I think they started learning to drink from a cup at like I think like 4 weeks. Because they did not want to take the bottle, you know, and so that was and you know that's like it's a challenge that you kind of have to figure out. Like, okay, like I want my child to be healthy and get all these, especially during a pandemic, right? Like where there's like all these viruses going around and they're just setting up their immune system. So I was able to have my kiddo on site and, you know, have like a little designated space for them to like be with me while I was working. And also like they're, I'm seeing like they have like a creative side to them where also like my work during that residency became collaborative with my little one. Like
I have a friend who is in the UK who had a kid, and I think that just ends up happening. Like it's a necessity thing.
Yeah. So we worked on some paintings, whether it was like prepping the backgrounds or, you know, like, and then I'd like go on, you know, start filling up the spaces and put the portraits or whatever it was that I was working on top. And yeah, I feel like my artistic process is very collaborative too, where like, whether it's like through storytelling, right, where I'm highlighting someone's story, I feel like, because of everything that I went through, like growing up and also like, you know, having challenges with mental health, right? Like when after, like, I think for me, like it's always been there, but because I use different things to like for example, like art, like sports, all music, all these things. So I didn't really have to address it in that moment.
Yeah.
So that was like my way of like coping with it. But when I became a parent and I was basically isolated from my community, like it was just me, baby, dad, and
this was during the lockdown.
Lockdown,
while I was getting drunk.
And so like I didn't like I had the baby blues. Like I was
the baby blues. I've never heard it called that. That's the postpartum
depression. Like it hit me so hard to like the point where like you know, I'm not sure like if you're gonna censor this, but like I was very suicidal. Like I didn't want to be here. Like I just didn't know what to do. Like, you know, and it was hard. It was hard navigating becoming a new parent and like having to learn all these things, and like also being anxious about like, you know, like
the new pressure of fucking not.
Yeah, like you know, just being anxious about like, damn, like.
Can I ask you like what? Sorry, you were gonna say a thought, and then I'll ask you the question.
Then I just being anxious about like protecting my child, right? Like and like also like, well, I didn't want my child to grow up without a community either, you know. But like my parents didn't meet my kid until they were like older. Like I was like they were like one. About to be 2, you know, and so.
Well, there was a very nihilist edge too. Like, I mean, the pressure if during that time period, I'm sure, I mean, statistically, there were a lot more people having those thoughts just in general. Yeah. But I wanted to ask you specifically, what is it that like, you know, you're not a doctor, but you've experienced it, so maybe you know more than me. What is it like a hormonal thing that is it triggered by that? What do you know?
I think for me, it's just it's like you inherited, right? Like like mental health or like mental.
But the postpartum depression is a thing that people that don't is it only people that have mental health issues?
No, I mean I don't think so. I think other folks get it because of the hormonal change. But I think like for me, like because my mom also dealt with like postpartum depression, and she also had like severe you know, anxiety and depression like throughout like growing up. So it's like that, you know, forms into other like mental illnesses. And so I think for me, because it went unchecked for so long.
But you have been depressed. You had been depressed in your younger. Okay, cool. So,
and then because
I mean, not cool, but I understand.
But I had ways of coping with it, right? Where I would dive into art, or I would dive into these programs, right? Like my high school teacher, she put me into like rhyme and art, or like didn't put me, but like would give me the applications, and like I would forge my parents' signatures, and I would submit my portfolios or like whatever they were asking me, right? I would stay after school, work on it, and then I would. You know, I did rhyme and arts. I did the Cal Arts summer program. You know, I did all these programs, but it was also because I had a lot of mental health issues, and I just
and you were just in overdrive to like kind of keep yourself busy. Yeah,
keep myself busy because it was stigmatized, right? Like you are like our parents don't want to talk about that. Like they don't want to talk about mental health in general, you know, and like. And I know I have, so it was very stigmatized, and I felt like I couldn't talk about it. And so I just like put on a facade, right? Like, yes, like I'm this very super overachieving child, like, you know, and that's why they left me alone, right? Like that's what, they were strict, you know, in terms of like, but I was always getting good grades, you know. I might have been like out at a ska show and come home back with my brother like at, you know, 12 a.m. But I had good grades. Yeah. We were both, you know.
It doesn't sound like you were a druggie or anything like that, which I was. I'm not saying that with judgment. I'm saying that with self-judgment.
So it's just, it was just that. It was just not, so when I became a parent, I had to check it. Like it was like I could no longer leave it. Like I couldn't ignore it anymore.
So you never had moments where you just couldn't do stuff? You never like you were always able to just kind of keep yourself busy and cope like that? You never had like bouts where you were just like, I don't want to do anything before you, because I mean I do want to acknowledge like that is a crazy trigger. Postpartum depression, lockdown, all things that by themselves would be really intense. That's like I mean I'm obviously never going to understand viscerally what postpartum depression is like, but I do know what being depressed is like, right? And I'm sure that whatever the different causes are, it's pretty intense to be like, I have this child and now I don't want to be here. Like, that's fucking crazy.
It is. And so the residency came like at such a important time in my life because I needed a way to funnel all of that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did in that residency. Like I was able to, you know, I also like hitting up the hotline, right? Like I called the hotline, but the appointment to like get any help were like 6 months out.
Wow.
That was the wait time, right? And so I was like,
do they help you when you call the hotline in the immediate, like, do they handle it like an emergency? I've never called.
They just they set you up with like your appointment. Like there's nothing else that they can really do.
They're not like, we want you to be okay. They don't do stuff like that.
I mean, they can do like a 5150 hold on you, where you go into like, they take you into like a psychiatrist and you stay there. But I didn't want that. Like I was like, I just need to talk to someone, and I just need to like share what I'm going through, right? Like,
but that's good to know too, because everybody's just always like, call the hotline, but I don't know what happens when you call the hotline until you so 6 months. That's
so for me, when I called the hotline, the earliest that anyone could see me, like that I can talk to, like was 6 months.
Wow.
You know, I'm sure that it's changed now that things are more open. You know,
so it was like
I feel like this was because of the
COVID.
Pandemic, COVID being on lockdown. Like
that makes sense.
You know, everything was closed, right?
Yeah, and it probably took a while. It's hard to remember, but it probably took a while for Zoom stuff to kind of kick off. And I don't know if they had HIPAA compliant. Now they have Zoom that is HIPAA compliant. That's like private, but I don't think at the time they probably hadn't gotten that infrastructure. You know, telemedicine and all that stuff kind of started to really become a thing. Now every doctor's like, yeah, you don't have to come in. Fuck it.
Yeah. So I feel like my work is very inspired by my experiences. And so like experience advocating, you know, and I also was very after I was kind of going back a little bit, but after I was you know, we were displaced, I was riding my bicycle a lot. I was also doing graffiti. You know,
what was your tag?
I didn't really do it for the tag. Like for me, it was more about like
painting,
advocating, and also for me it was like a message, right? So like some way to like hit back, like you know, whether it was like, you know, fuck gentrification or whatever it was, right? Like I never really. Like I don't think
you're not a
for me
graffiti
it wasn't
artist.
About like claiming a spot or you know it was like, you know, wheat pasting, it was like stenciling, it was like I'm gonna go like, you know, post up this thing, like that was for like what graffiti to me was, you know, although like if there was a black book, you know, like that it would be like black book, okay, like I'll write my name here, you know, and but I'll throw in like fine art into it as well, like
black book being like a sketchbook,
where you would pass it around and you would catch your tags or your you know, like and so that's where like the advocating part of it, and also like taking it back to the streets, right? Where it's like it's public, a lot of folks can see it. It's not just like, you know, because there's like that inaccessibility, right? Like of like your art is here, but like can my parents come and see it? Like will they have, you know, during that time, right? Like when they're like, obviously right now their working has slowed down, right? Because but during that time it's like they were working nonstop to provide for us. And so I always felt like there was like that clash of like wanting to pursue like the art world, but then not wanting to pursue the art world. And then
can I ask you do you have a BFA or no?
No, I dropped out of community college. I was going to Pasadena. I dropped out because I was doored while riding my bicycle. So I got doored, and basically I was riding down Sunset on the bike lane. My brother was riding in front of me, and we were trying to catch up to like a group bicycle ride. I forget what ride it was. And so we were going fast, and I was trying to keep up with him because he was faster than me. And so I remember him like flying, not like him getting hit, but like him like just flying
fast,
and like leaving me behind. And I was like, fuck. I was trying to hustle, and then some dude just opened his door.
Oh my God.
And like I smashed right into it.
That's rough.
Right into it. Flew through the glass.
Is he like liable for that when that happens?
So it was,
because I'm sure they called this.
With the ambulance arrived, and then my brother realized that I wasn't behind him, so he came back.
Tell me you didn't take an ambulance ride.
I did not take an ambulance ride. I waited for my parents, but the thing was like I didn't have like again like this person like fucked up my life, right? Because now I have permanent nerve damage on my dominant hand, and I think that's why I stopped pursuing the art world too, because like in a way like it changed a lot of things for me. Like I remember I had to take like a absence, or like what's that thing that you absence of leave or something,
leave of absence,
where you have a certain amount of time to complete your stuff. Like I couldn't complete any of my finals for it happened during that like around that time, like June-ish, right? Like so so I had to do a lot of physical therapy, and it just didn't feel like the same for me. Like I was like, damn, like I went from being like, oh, I'm not saying, because we all have different growth periods, but I was just like I couldn't hold like a can, like the
like a spray can,
right? Like the pressure of it like on my hand was like
too much,
painful.
Has it gotten any better, or
it has gotten better? I picked it up again, before the pandemic, before becoming a parent, meeting other like women that are also in graffiti, or like in the like that like inspire me, right? And so slowly I started getting back into it, but for a long time, like I think I went like 10 years without making work,
I did 12, so don't worry about it. And also you're on this podcast, you have a teaching job, you are an artist. I don't ask that I ask that so that people see that people can do it without it. Not be like, oh well, you're not an artist or anything like that. Yeah, but I just felt very unfit after my accident. I bet. And honestly, when you're going through something, art school is like designed to be traumatic. Like, and they do it kind of like they're always like, oh, we're gonna tear you down to build you back up. You didn't need that shit after that accident, like I had a question. Let me see if I can remember it. The when you were talking about the stigma, that's interesting to me. Of depression, is that still a thing in like the Mexican community? I think now there's a lot more conversations around that. But when you were a kid, when I was a kid, it was very stigmatized. Like I remember a loved one like was diagnosed, right? Like and we were being displaced, and so I remember the landlord being like, oh well, are you sure he like for not doing drugs, and that's the reason? And I'm like, really? Like you're gonna go there versus like you're gonna like you're it was so stigmatized. Like you're accusing someone for having a mental illness based off of like supposedly them doing drugs, or and it's like, no, it wasn't. Sometimes it's a fucking chemical imbalance that like it's just genetics, right? No, definitely. I mean you don't know me that well. People that are listening, that listen regularly, know that I have serious mental health issues that have been debilitating for long periods of my life. So I remember when I was a kid, my parents would talk about it being stigmatized in the Cuban community, right? But they were not playing that game. They were like, I had serious learning disabilities. I'm like severely dyslexic. So my parents, like my mom spent so many years just fighting for us. We lived in Italy, and we went to a British school, and they had no idea about like any of this stuff, about any learning disability stuff and whatnot. So I had special tutors and stuff. And then finally we just moved to the US and I went to a school, a special school, shout out Atlantis Academy, which is not a school that people like to shout out because it is for people with learning disabilities. And then I decided I didn't want to graduate once I got a handle on things. And I accept, like that's where I learned to read and all of this stuff where it was like really focused. But yeah, even that was stigmatized. And then when you're talking about the drug thing, that's an interesting thing too, because like a lot of people that have mental health issues cope with drugs. Mm-hmm. And it's not the drugs that are causing them, it's the mental health issue that, you know, and I, being from Miami, knew a lot of those fuckers. And a lot of them died. You know, and it's a very sad thing. Yeah. And it's a different kind of it's suicide. I guess I'm already gonna have to put a disclaimer on here, but I don't mind. No, I like having these conversations. These are real things. We can't let censors. You know, we just have to do best practices and make sure people understand that we don't want them to hurt themselves and that we're not promoting it. Yeah. But yeah, that is interesting to me. A lot of the things that you are expressing are things from like my childhood, and I'm 10 years older, right? Mm-hmm. 14 years older.
Yeah, I just turned 34.
So yeah, I am 10 years older. So it's crazy to just hear that. I mean, I guess 10 years isn't that much of a difference, but I wonder if like what it's like for your brother. You know, because he's 10 years younger.
My sister, she's 10. Yeah, like my sister's 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
My brother, we're only a year apart. Okay. So we're pretty close. But my youngest sister.
That makes a lot more sense why they felt comfortable with him walking with you. Because if you were walking with a 10-year-old kid, what's that kid gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm glad I clarified that.
Yeah. My sister is 10 years younger.
10 years younger.
So I'm sure for her it's different. Yeah, you know, it's a different generation.
The whole climate has changed. I mean, everything. Like fucking the last 10 years have been insane.
But yeah, I know that. Like now when we talk about it, like, you know, because obviously like at some point I was like, look, Mom, like I'm fucking depressed, like I'm fucking suicidal, like I don't know what to do, like you know, and so there was a lot more like conversation there, you know, where it was like, you know, like well, they don't live here in California, so they're on the East Coast, so it was like there was also that, right, like not having.
When did they move to the East Coast?
Before the pandemic. They left right before the pandemic.
Where does a Mexican family move to in the East Coast?
South Carolina.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
it's a lot of Cubans in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, not as much. I mean, compared to California, there's a lot of Cubans.
Yeah, so there was that, right? Like that distance, and I think now, like reflecting back, like before it was like, yeah, no one would talk about it, like we're going to church and we're gonna pray and we're gonna do this, but it wasn't like actually like addressing like and so, you know, I had to go to a lot of support groups where, you know, like, so I can also like, I was also learning, like this was like, you know, like I was like 18, 19, right? And I was going to there's this NAMI, right? Like the Glendale Hospital offers these free classes where you can like learn like how to like, you know, support your loved ones. Like they provide lots of like great resources, and that's the first place that like I went to, and that's, you know, and so
so that was the first tangible help after calling the hotline. Did you ever get the 6 months out thing?
I yeah, so I have like you know, a therapist.
Awesome.
I you know, I do get like you know, or like those where I like taking care of my health, because I think that's important in order for me to like be a good parent. Like I have to be there, you know. And so
it sounds like when guys in their 20s suddenly have kids and they're like, all of a sudden they've been fuck ups their whole lives and they get a job and they just start grinding because it changes them. It sounds like that a little bit. Like
So
Not that you were a fuck up, but you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing where like you just wake up and you're like, I can't be the way I was, you know, or the way that I've been.
Yeah. So, and then having like a support system, right? Like letting my community in to like, you know, like this is where I'm at. Like, I think that was like the first, like asking for help is like a big thing that, I struggled with because of the way that I was raised, right? Like you don't ask for help. You don't talk about this. You don't tell anyone what you're going through. Like you just, you know, figure it out. And so when I started, you know, slowly going, you know, hitting up that support group, learning about like all of these mental health issues, right? Like, and how they're different, but you know, I was like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not alone. Like, I think for a long time, I felt so alone. I felt so...
Especially in the pandemic. Damn. I mean, this is before the pandemic,
yeah,
right?
Like, even before the pandemic, like, when I was growing up, like, I felt isolated. Like, how am I going to relate to someone else, you know? Like, and so I didn't talk about it, right? I just didn't. You could see it I feel like when I look at old art, like, you could see parts of it there, and I'm sure that like some teachers might have been like alerted, but also like their teachers didn't know what to do.
No, right? They're not equipped.
So and they could fuck schools are not equipped, you know, and so like that's also like a big reason why I also like want to homeschool, right?
We talked a little bit before that you were homeschooling, before the recording, that you were homeschooling your son or daughter.
Well, a kid. I say kid because they like to go back and forth.
That's
between
totally
like,
fine. Sorry.
You know, she, him.
No,
so
no. I'm antiquated.
So you know, I'm.
No, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. I that you have answered the question. What was the other one? So then tell me how let's maybe cover a little bit of the healing process of the so the Blue Roof art, specifically from the postpartum depression, because I mean that is like you got stacked. You got untreated mental health issues, and then you got a double stack of shit, you know, like not that having a kid, but like having that hormonal imbalance, which is serious. And I've known people that have miscarriages and abortions and still get postpartum. So that is like a very real thing, and it's a chemical thing, right? It sounds like I'm all of a sudden an authority after telling you that I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, but it does sound like, and I mean generally depression is chemical, right? Like it's triggered by stuff, but the processes are chemical. I found that when I've been in that place, it's like a whole myopic experience where you look back at your history and you're just like, everything sucked. Everything's been bad. I've never had it. And you completely just erase all the happy moments that you've had that have gotten you this far. When you start getting out of it, like what is that process like? And I guess, I mean, you have a therapist, right? So 6 months in, you had a therapist.
Yeah.
Were those helpful?
They were.
Okay.
I feel like I never like that. That was the first time I was doing therapy. It was the first time that I was like being open about like my issues. Also like being like, damn, like, yeah, like this has gone unchecked, and like, you know, how the hell did I make it through all of this? Like, I don't know. You know, but I'm glad that I was able to get to that point, because also like my pregnancy during that time was very difficult. Like, I was losing weight. I was having trouble. Like my liver was having trouble, like giving the like just processing, like, and then the pandemic happened. And so for me, I wanted to do like a natural birth. Like I wanted to stay away from hospitals, and I wanted to,
Especially at that time where people were fucking dying in them.
Yeah, so I was so terrified, like,
Yeah,
you know, and I was like, you know, my midwife was like, if your labs don't come back at this, you know, like you won't be able to give birth here, you know. And so there was like that added pressure
of the labs coming back.
And so that process was also very healing, because like, yeah, like being like, damn, like I need this help. And then also like medical insurance is like not covering, you know, natural births. Like I think now like you're able to get a midwife through Medi-Cal at a hospital. So that's great, you know, but like I had to fundraise for my doula. And like that was also like whoa, like but I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that my community had my back, and and we're, you know, I was able to you know, I had to pay out of pocket for like supplements because I needed to get my labs to that point. I was like vegetarian like for majority of like my adulthood, but when I got pregnant, like I had to start eating like chicken liver, like all these things. And so and then I just stopped being I think
welcome back. Well, we missed you. We were worried about you for a second there.
Yeah, like I'm not vegetarian or vegan anymore, you know. But yeah, that helped my healing journey, where I didn't feel like I needed to go through it alone. And I was more comfortable tapping into like, hey, like I'm currently here, you know, and I have like my pod, right, of like folks that like when I feel like a crisis, or like they're able to like step in, whether it's through childcare, whether it's through like, hey, like let me take you out, like let's, you know, do these things. Like I think that's very important to have in your life, a support system that like where you don't have to like put on a facade, right? And you can just be like, fuck, today is so shitty, like I'm down here, like I don't know what to do. And then your support system can offer like, okay, well, let me take the kiddo, have a day for yourself, figure it out, we'll be back by this time. And
even just like the thing that depression kind of makes you isolate yourself, because you're just kind of cranky, and you're like you just think, I don't know, it's such a distorted way of seeing the world. And I find that like even if you're not feeling good, just being around people makes you forget. It's that same thing of like it's a distraction from being miserable, you know. Which is cool. I sometimes I go through like periods where I'm just like so focused on what I'm trying to get done that I'll like go weekends, and then the other thing that is, since I do this, I'm like, oh, well, I've socialized, but that's not the same thing. You know, this is like a work thing. Even going to galleries is like a work thing, you know, like actually spending time one-on-one with people, or one-on however many, you know, but like spending time with community is like a really healthy thing that I think people with tendencies like ours tend to neglect, you know, like neglecting relationships, I think is a part of that disease. And then, but it's part of the self-fulfilling prophecy of it, because you're feeling like shit and you're like, oh, I don't want to bother these people, and they miss you. You know.
And I went so long like not ever mentioning any of, because I also felt like if I said anything, they're gonna look at me this way. Like they're not gonna want to like talk to me, or they're not gonna want to, you know, they're gonna be like, oh wait, she's too much, or like they're too much, like you know. And so I think that's why I also didn't feel comfortable saying anything.
No,
like,
for sure.
And
it's a lot. It is a lot, and it's intense, you know. I mean, when people tell me that they're going through it's I take it seriously, you know, but it does become more clinical because it's very serious, right? Yeah.
And art has also helped me heal in that way, right? Like when I am able to make a body of work, or when I am able to, you know, put in, you know, some time to, you know, make art, like it helps. I feel like during my childhood, that's the role that art played. Like it was that sanctuary that even though I had all these thoughts in my head, this is the place that I could just blur it out. Like I didn't have to address it.
That reminds me of me.
Yeah, it and I'm like, yeah, and it, as cliche as it sounds, like art really helped me stay alive.
Yeah.
Because even though I dabbled in all these things, like when I was like in middle school, right? Art was, I think, the focus. Once I got to high school, I was like, okay, this is it. This is, like I don't need to do anything else but this, whether it's for me personally or whether I show it or whatever, like I know that it's what I need in that time. And that's what it's felt like, I'm also glad that my partner is very supportive in that sense, that like when I was going through that.
I didn't want to ask the question, where's the dad? Because that might have come off as aggressive, but I was wondering.
No, yeah, like he's very supportive. You know, like, sometimes it's hard balancing.
It's hard. Life is just hard without these problems, right? Yeah.
And so like, I think that was like the first time that I had a partner that like didn't shut me out as soon as like my mental health started coming out, didn't
take it personally, but was worried about you.
Yeah. Like he was, like so it felt, you need that support, like if,
that's why solitary confinement is such a torture, right? Like it's literally makes you insane to just be on your own.
It's the opposite of care, right? Like that's not going to fix anything. Like, and so my partner is very supportive. He's very supportive. Although he doesn't practice, he's not an artist himself. He's when he like, when I have deadlines or whatever you want to call it, like he makes sure that like he's the primary caretaker, and we're not traditional in any way either. I feel like we grew up in traditional households, but I also feel like
now you're rebelling.
Yeah, we're doing things different where like we take turns being the primary caretaker, right? Like
that's good. Yeah.
When he's working, because he works at a high school, like so when he's working, like I'm the primary caretaker, and then when he's like on, the kids go on vacation or summer break or winter break or whatever, then he becomes the primary caretaker, like right. So he's like the main parent, and then I'm able to do like these side gigs, right? Like I remember a couple summers ago I did LA Commons. I worked with LA Commons. We did like a community mural at the Expo Center, and I worked with this lead artist John Trevino, and that was really amazing. Like, I was able to like, I was able to do that during that summer break, and he was like having all these fun trips with the kiddo, like going camping,
playing Legos, playing toy soldiers and stuff,
like doing all these things, right? And so I was able to like, although I did get like FOMO, right? Like, and I was like, damn, like, but at the same time, I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm working on a community mural. We're working with high school students. We're designing, like we're, mixing. We mixed, if you ever see that, go see that mural at the Expo Center. All those colors were hand mixed.
Oh, wow.
And we color matched them, and so
that's a lot of work.
Nothing was like
you guys. You don't even
from
have to go to art school to learn how to mix colors. And that's a fucking skill right there. Yeah.
So that was a really I learned so much from that, like taking on that job and working with John Trevino. So yeah, like being able to do these things, like still as a parent, and but that's because I have his support.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing.
And even if if in the future I was like, we want to go our own ways, I think we would be those parents that might have their homes next to each other and like we're super cool and like we're best friends, and
then the new partners get jealous and like, wait, what's going on here?
Hey, we're a blended family. Like I love, like I don't think I'd want to be like where I don't know who
Yeah.
You know, hypothetically speaking, like if they were to have a girl, you know, like I wouldn't want to like be that person that doesn't get to meet them, or like, you know, because I'm like, bro, you're gonna be around my kiddo, so like let's be best friends.
Do you know who Lori Vallow is?
Lori Vallow?
She's a psycho that killed her kids.
No. Well,
which you just reminded me of her, because you're like, yeah, you should know who who you're co-parenting with. Yeah. But anyway, I didn't mean not mean to make it dark. But
no, but those are scary things though. That does happen where like when you get, you know, there's the partner abuses the child. Yeah. Whether it's the man or the woman, or
in this case, she killed her ex-husband. Spoilers. And then she killed his biological son that she was taking care of, and her daughter. So it's good to be in your partner's life if you're co-parenting, for sure, you know.
Hell yeah. And I think that's why I'm not traditional, because like you know, I think for me personally, like being able to have a child was like a gift in itself, like because it's my one and only child, like just like a miracle baby, right? So after I delivered her, like they were very they were like, the midwife was like, wow, like they looked at my placenta and they're like,
you got a nice placenta.
No, they were like, you don't have and you could have had a miscarriage.
Oh wow.
And so yeah, you know, your baby really wanted to be here.
Cool.
And I was like, what? You know, and I was told that I couldn't have children.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, okay, you know, and not that like I was very like, okay, like I didn't see myself becoming a parent.
Yeah.
But when I did find out, I was like, what? I started feeling like I just thought that I just wasn't like healthy, right? And then I was like, okay, my sister was like, let's go. We're going to go walk in and we're going to go get a pregnancy test. And then I went to Planned Parenthood, you know, to draw my blood and really make sure. And I was like, yeah, you're pregnant. I was like, what the fuck?
How exciting was that? Terrifying?
It was terrifying. It was terrifying. I didn't know if my body was going to be able to, go through a full-term pregnancy.
Yeah.
I had a miscarriage before, and so I was like, that's why I was told like I couldn't have kids. And so I was just like, so then I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do? And you know, what do I need to do for that to happen? And that's kind of like, you know, well, obviously, what are you gonna do? And then the pandemic hits you, right?
But you did it though. I mean, that's an accomplishment. That's crazy. And I also feel like your kid is going to be so stubborn because they're like, Mom, your body wanted to kill me.
Oh, they're definitely, they have a very strong will.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that they're able to advocate for themselves and be like, you know, no, not today. Not today.
Not today, Satan is the saying, I think.
Not today, you know, but but they're very, you know, like I do take them to like art openings, you know, I feel like spaces are not as kid friendly, and so we're just taking up space. So if you ever see me out.
Well, I have plenty of friends that do that. Yeah, there's plenty of I call them the burdened. Oh, no. I just made that up right now. No, I have friends, plenty of friends whose kids are always around, which is cool. It's cool. I mean, it's not unfriendly for kids. It's just boring. So they're always like playing video games. But I think you'll be fine. With that.
There are some spaces, like some museums, that are very like
weird about kids.
Well, like just like, you know,
the securities
are always like, oh, like, and I'm like my kiddo's good. Like they know the rules. Like and they follow them really, like, you know, that I've never had an issue with them being like, but you know, you just have folks that are very like, I mean, they see a kid and they're like,
they're immediately nervous,
alarmed.
Although I would say that if you were a museum security guard, that would be the biggest liability.
And I'm like, yeah, we're also very like attentive, like I'm not judging either, but
I think I heard judgment.
But sometimes you get distracted, and so then sometimes they see that as a window to be like,
and they're slick. Well, cool. I mean, we've been going for like an hour. I usually ask people if there's anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about. It's okay if you've covered everything, but anything that you were thinking of before we started recording that you wanted to get in, and now's your chance.
I mean, I think the only thing that I want to say is like, if you're ever feeling a certain way, just know that like there's people out there that care about you and that, want you here. And so, and
if there isn't, there could be, like you're just wigging out. Like you're just tripping, dog. Seriously. You are having illusions.
Yeah. And if like open invitation, like if you want to send a message, like, like I'm here to listen, like, I've been told I'm a good listener.
Well, cool. Well, where can we point people to find you and your work? Do you have a website? I don't have a website.
I don't have a website either. I'm currently working on it.
I do have a website, but I don't have a website because my website is so old. I don't have any current work in it, but go ahead.
No, yeah, like
Your Instagram?
My Instagram, you can find me, my Instagram handle is Bliss1.
Bliss1.
And hopefully I'll have a website by the end of this year.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I need to get my shit together too. Because I'm starting to do better with the show, and then I realized, and like yesterday someone told me, I was like, oh, I looked at your website, and I was like, immediately panicked, and I was like, no, your Instagram. And I was like, well, I need to fix that so I don't feel that.
Yeah. And also if you want to do like an artist residency, like I know it might be intimidating, but honestly, like just submit it.
Bro,
submit it.
I have been an admissions panelist on a residency. If you can slightly write, apply.
Yes,
like
please.
If you can write what your work is about, you're already ahead of the game. It's just amazing how many artists don't know how to write. So if you don't know how to write about your work, learn it. It is a skill.
Yes.
And then but yeah, no, the residencies are cool. Just definitely but don't think that you're not good enough, because I always thought that the pool of people applying was so much more grandiose. I thought I was competing against Alexander Calder, Yeah. But in reality, the amount of people that apply that really don't know what they're doing is it's disappointing, but also refreshing. It's also makes you realize you can do it.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I thought when I was submitting my application. I mean, I saw the opening and I was like, the call, I was like, whoa, shit, it's 4 days out. Do I even have time to do this? But I was like, my mental health was like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I need to do it. So yeah, they might, residencies or residence calls, at first they sound intimidating, especially when you start reading all the questions, but if you have your portfolio, you have make sure you have good documentation, right? Mm-hmm. And you have your CV, and you know how to write about your work. Yeah, you're good.
I would say when I was doing it, I could give a fuck about CVs. I either liked your work or I didn't.
Yeah.
Honestly, even so I would add that to even if you haven't shown anywhere, there's some people that didn't have CVs that I gave good ratings to, that didn't even include a CV. If your work is good and you can write about it, apply.
Yeah, and you don't need a long CV. That's the other point.
Or any.
Yeah,
some places. Some places are optional, and honestly, I really don't care. If I like your work, I like your work.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that people need to realize. Maybe you meet somebody and they like your work and you're not ready to show in their space or whatever. But if they like your work, they like your work. That's so much worth so much more than a CV.
It is.
You know, I'm not going to look at somebody's CV and be like, oh my God, look at how impressive this is. I hate the work. Like, it's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
If you write good, you know.
And you document your work and you have
get good documentation. Yeah.
Like, so folks can actually see. Because I know that sometimes that can be like the factor that like doesn't, you know, get you that. Or if your photos aren't great, if they can't see the details, if they can't really see the work clearly, then it, you know, it could be that. But I also, just go for it. Do it. Submit it. Go for it.
You never know.
If you're a parent and you want to just do it, like,
especially if you're a parent, you should apply to these things because that'll give you time. And who doesn't want a kid running around a residency, making it exciting? Little mascot,
little artist, upcoming artist, right?
Yeah, artist in training. Well, cool. Thank you so much for doing this. And if you guys enjoyed the conversation, give us a like, rate us 5 stars, subscribe, comment. I need more comments. If you have any experience, how do I do a better call? I guess it's on me to make better calls to action. Comment if you have had a hard time and art helped you out. We want to hear that story or anything else related to mental health that you found helpful, because maybe someone's reading those comments and they've just watched this episode and they're like, what do I do? You know. Be nice. And we have the patreon.com/what's my thesis, $5 a month for early access episodes. And that's basically it. We'll be back with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. You did all the work. I just sat here. All right. Bye, guys.